What's up? This is my Star Wars hat. Again, I'm just being a retard. Okay, I thought I'd give like a little review of Star Wars The Force Awakens, Episode 7. Lots of spoilers. We'll see how this goes. I'm sort of doing this for my own sake, like a rant to get it off. I really wanted to enjoy it, and basically, if you've seen Key and Peele, there's a sketch they do where they have Barack Obama, who believes and says to the American people that we're going to fix this problem as soon as we can. And then you got the other guy going, man, we're getting pissed off here. I don't know, I can't do it, but you know, he's trying to hold his anger in. That's how I felt with this movie. I didn't like the Force Awakens at all. I really ended up hating it. I'd give it like a 3 out of 10. That was the number that fits for me. It's the worst Star Wars movie. I prefer Phantom Menace. I prefer the Attack of the Clones. But anyway, if other people enjoy it, that's great. And so I'll start with things I did like. I like the story. I think it's really good. When it had the opening credit things, I was super excited. The idea, again, there's lots of spoilers, that Luke has disappeared. I thought that was really cool. And, you know, sort of this First Order appearing, sort of basically the Empire, like the new Empire or whatever. And, you know, they're sort of searching for Luke and there's a resistance. But again, it's kind of like, well, that's basically the Empire and Rebels. And I think there were too many echoes. Like I'd said before, you know, there aren't that many Star Wars movies, and you've got to be original. Star Wars invented this stuff, and Empire Strikes Back added a whole bunch of stuff, expanded the universe. And then Return of the Jedi, I mean, it sort of had a Death Star again. But it still invented a bunch of new things and took it further. And then the prequels, if you like them or not, they still added a bunch of things. And they were made in an age where CGI wasn't that new. Jurassic Park's maybe in, say, Terminator 2 Judgment Day are a couple of the earliest, maybe sort of famous CGI movies where it was done really successfully. And that holds up pretty well in the early 90s. And then Phantom Menace is 99, and I thought it did some very cool CGI things. You know, so maybe let's just start with that. There's lots of things I want to talk about, but if I brought up CGI, some of the characters in Force Awakens were CGI, and I found it very off-putting. I didn't like them. I didn't find them engaging. It seemed obviously fake, and it drew me out of it. And whether you like it or not, with the prequels, they might have a lot of CGI. And of course, the original trilogy had very innovative special effects for its time that I think hold up really well. Like, a lot of it might not look that real, but it's exciting and it looks cool. And I feel like this movie's going to date really badly. I don't think it does anything new in terms of special effects. I don't think there's any one part where people go, whoa, like the way that was done, like that looks so cool. I don't think there's anything special effects wise that was something to get excited about. But yeah, so in the prequels, a lot of the special effects were things like lightsabers and cities and buildings and sort of spaceships and lights. That sort of stuff computers are good at. The hardest thing to do with CGI is something organic, and that's the problem. This new movie sort of does these characters and faces and close-ups in CGI, and it looks terrible, I think. That little alien with the glasses and the big tall one, I thought they looked bad. Anyway, it was off-putting, and that was just a little thing. I should get to what my main complaints are in a second, but yeah, I just thought that was a bad choice. And just trying to, yeah, just so, okay, let's just say special effects not innovative. Another thing, let's go to music. I was super excited for the music, and before I saw it, my brother saw it at the midnight screening. He commented that there weren't any real like new themes that he noticed. Like, most of them, you can go through all of them. Like the original Star Wars introduced ba 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 ba, and the Force theme ba ba da ba ba da ba ba. Leia's theme ba ba da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Like really beautiful themes that we really hear, and we have these nice vistas and I don't know, just like new locations and places that you haven't seen before. And this movie just has none of that. There's no sweeping themes. Let's go through the other movies. I don't care if this goes for a while. Empire Strikes Back had ba 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 da ba ba da, the Imperial March, bum bum ba bum 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 all that, and ba 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 na 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 na. Yoda's theme, and Han Solo and the Princess was introduced in that. Da 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 da. You know what? Maybe I should just talk about the original trilogy. I love those movies. And I don't consider myself a Star Wars fan. I consider myself a fan of movies and feelings and excitement and adventure and the actual space and actual possibilities of what can happen in life. And Star Wars movies, those movies are awesome. You know, so I'm not a fan of like, dressing up, and I'm just a fan of those specific 3 movies. And the prequels, I think, are still very good, not on the same level. And this movie, I wanted to enjoy, but let's keep going. So Return of the Jedi had there's like a twin theme. How does that go? I forget. And there's like an Ewok theme. I won't go through all of them. Episode 1's got Duel of the Fates. Da, 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 da. And it's got Anakin's theme, which is a really nice theme. Da, 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 na, 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 da, da, na, da, na, da, da, da. And as much, you know, people seem to, it's like become a thing to hate the prequels and be like, yeah, they're terrible. At least J.J. Abrams is doing it right now. But those prequels, at least we got to see a character change to evil. In theory, we tried to see that, rather than just this pouty teenager. I'm Kylo Ren, and, you know, I don't know. I didn't like his acting much. I thought Kylo Ren was very cool at the start when he stopped that laser, and then, you know, he had a very dark voice. Then he said to kill everyone. I was like, he's not so likable. But anyway, we'll get to that. Okay, episode 2 had Across the Stars. Ba 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 da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba da ba 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 ba. And again, it had a really cool mystery about finding out, what is this clone army, who did it, you know, found out about Count Dooku. I really found it exciting, and Obi-Wan's going on this solo quest. Anyway, episode 3 had Battle of the Heroes. Ba 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 boom boom boom. You know, it'd be much better if I could just show you things. This must be the most boring video to watch. You just see me. I know, I'm aware that I'm sort of looking at myself, so I'm looking off center. I'm trying to address, but then there's this handsome chap here that I keep noticing. Okay, so no real new themes. Like a few bits where there's like dark music for Kylo Ren, but that's it. And I don't think that's John Williams' fault. I think that's whatever J.J. Abrams said to him. And the format of the film does not give it time to have a nice theme. I felt, apart from maybe near the start, I can't remember to be honest, I felt there's constant dialogue, constant talking, in a way that's not particularly interesting. Biggest weakness of J.J. Abrams by far, and this drove me nuts once I started to pinpoint it. I've already mentioned it before and thought of it. It's close-ups. But the thing is, he uses them all the time, and another thing is characters stare at each other. Okay, so you think of, I want to compare it to the original trilogy, because otherwise I'll just go nuts. In Star Wars, when Luke is learning about, you know, the Force and stuff, Obi-Wan's usually looks at him a bit, but he's sort of wistfully, you know, in the days we had the Clone Wars, I don't know the quotes, but he's looking off wistfully and imagining things, and he's feeling things. And we don't get a close-up, and we don't get J.J. Abrams saying, more emotion! You know, you need to be breathing, you need to have a sweat. You know, he's telling this story. In this movie, every time people are talking, they look at each other, and it's just dull. There's no real character. When Harrison Ford first appeared, that was the first time I think I saw a character looking away as they were saying things, and it was so refreshing. I really liked Harrison Ford and Chewbacca. I thought they were really welcome. I thought the main girl, Rey, was nice. She's pretty. But again, it's the director ruins it. Even the black guy I thought was very good. I liked his character. Actually, something that was very smart was having that stormtrooper sort of having emotions. Like instantly you could sort of relate to them, and even if they're covered in a mask, you can see what someone's feeling. And by having the blood smeared, that marked them. So we knew later on when we're seeing this person, whoever this person is, that's the same character. So it was interesting to establish a character even though they had a mask on. That was a smart way to do it. And then it's revealed it's this black guy, and it's established. So again, I hate his style of directing. There were a lot of times where characters, there's a part where, for instance, they turn on this thing, this display, this big blue thing, and instead of looking at it, be like, whoa, look at it. And that's what I think good directing should do. You look over the shoulder of someone and you go into the vista and you feel things as an audience member. You're there with them. And only when there's sort of when they're saying something to someone, or they're, and we don't want to see their feelings, like their sadness and their, you know, we want to see their personality. Actually, this is just occurring to me. We want to see character and personality, but we don't see that much of that. What we see is crying and reactions and like, you know, all the time. And we have all the bad guys are angry. I don't know if you noticed, but they shout, they walk, and they're like sweating, and they're like, you guys are gonna get, you know, killed by us. I don't know any of the lines. That's another thing. I can't think of any lines. Kylo Ren had some, I think, cool things that he said. I liked his voice, but did I tell you that was my reaction? Man, I don't know what else to say. Let's see. Okay, lots of little things. One really funny thing. She was doing tally marks near the start. Rey, she had these. Has she not heard of tallies? That you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a cross. I don't know if you noticed, but there's just a whole bunch of vertical. I thought that was stupid. In that, when we saw the aliens in this sort of bar place, when they on a whatever planet. Again, I don't care what planets. Jakku was the same as Tatooine. I'm pretty sure it was called Jakku, right? It was just sand and all the same stuff from Star Wars. Nothing. And then there was an ice planet. Wow, how original. And a forest planet. Like, I just found the planets had nowhere near as much personality as like Dagobah. We don't need to see a lot of Dagobah, but you know, and I know, of course, my brother pointed out, I'm biased because I've seen the original trilogy, I've seen the prequels more. It's easy to quote them, and, you know, I'm familiar with them, so I shouldn't be quick to judge something, but J.J. Abrams directing drives me nuts. Yeah, in that bar, there was like a band playing like reggae, and it was just dull. I didn't like it at all, but I thought, oh, okay. Like the Cantina Band, and it made me think of the Cantina Band, you know, and how cool that was. And also in that, again, personality in that bar, there was this guy who said, you know, he says he doesn't like you, I don't like you either, or whatever. That happens, and then, you know, there's a confrontation, and Obi-Wan has to pull out his lightsaber. There's nothing like that in this one. All the aliens go, but we never know what it means. It never amounts to anything, and there's no tension. It's just blah, 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 and everyone's unhelpful, and they all look different, but there's no personality. Okay, that's occurring to me. That's what it is. I hate. He shows emotions constantly, close ups, stay aligned. No personality. Han Solo was really cool because he's like this guy that's, just sort of cares about himself and does what needs to be done, and he's sort of cool, but he's in trouble with lots of people. I don't think deliberately, but he ends up, doesn't have a perfect track record. Luke is really exciting at the start of Star Wars. Not an exciting character, but you can sense he's got this sense of wonder, and he's looking up at the two stars, and there's just really nice shots where you just, you have someone standing there. There's none of that in this one. The black guy's origin is kind of cool. The fact that he, but it's so quick. Like, oh, a friend dies, and I just remember thinking, what was he expecting going to war and going out to kill people? Did it just suddenly occur to him that he's like, oh my god, I don't want to kill people. That's it, I'm going to change. And how come every one of the other stormtroopers is a zombie? Didn't they destroy this giant Death Star in this one? Yeah, I mentioned that, right? I know this is dragging on, but I got to get this off my head, okay? In Return of the Jedi, yeah, they destroyed the Death Star by desactivating this, force field on the planet. This is what happens in this one. And then they destroy it, right? So don't all those people die? Including the other ones who maybe next week we're going to go on one of their first battles and then have a realization, I don't want to kill people. I'm not going to kill anyone. Okay, another thing, big thing missing from this movie is a sense of wonder, which I think the others have, including the prequels. They have a sense of magic and specialness. As much as you might hate the dialogue, there are parts where the characters seem to mean something, and they look at each other and they look away. Like, a close-up means nothing if you keep doing it. J.J. Abrams uses it all the time. I think I keep going around, but there's a part where they activated this screen, and it just, I swear to God, I was like counting, it went to about 5 or 6 close-ups, and it didn't even, eventually they switched it off again, and I barely got to look at that blue display of stars and planets, and I thought, what was the point of putting that thing on? It really bothered me. And like I said, another thing is there tends to be a focus whenever they mentioned the little droid, it would cut the droid and show him, reacting. I really liked the droid, the part where he went, psh. That was cool. And when Rey used her sort of, you will untie me and leave the door open, that was cool. When the way it happened, I enjoyed that. So just a couple other things I thought of. People critique certain things about the special editions and the prequels, and I thought this movie actually had a lot of those flaws. One of them, in the special edition, some people I think complain, like in Star Wars, the special effects are too loud and they wash out the really beautiful music by John Williams. I felt that was a big problem with this movie as well. For most of it, I couldn't hear the music properly. The sound effects were too loud, and they were just boring, explosions and... That was another thing. At the start of the movie, I remember I was so excited. Once the credits finished rolling, I was like, man, this story is awesome. Like, is Luke Skywalker evil? Is he on the dark side now? Is he... I think I sort of knew he wasn't Kylo Ren, but is he somehow connected? And then what are we going to find out? And then he's in the last 2 seconds, and that just... And then the camera... I keep thinking of different things. That was a big flaw. Whenever the camera moves sideways, you'll find if I do this, you can't see anything in the room properly. Everything blurs, right? Much more interesting. Let me show off my directing skills. If I draw... See, I can't see what I'm looking at. But if I draw your attention to something and like slowly, not too fast, go into it. Those are all the cool things I want to watch. Shit, I'm going to fall over. Me tripped over. Okay, that was my little interlude. I know I didn't really do anything, but it's hard because I can't see what I'm filming. But yeah, there were action scenes where they're running to the side and the camera's just moving sideways with them, and it's just a blur, and that's not an action scene. Just because the character's running or because they're shouting or yelling doesn't make it exciting. You've got to storyboard that stuff. You've got to work out scene by scene, shot by shot, what happens. And I think all the other movies are much more exciting. The asteroid field scene in the original Star Wars, where they fight a couple of stray TIE fighters, and you know, they sort of cheer and you see the locking on, and there's bum 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 bum. Like, the music is epic. It's super exciting. Let me pause. So yeah, at the start of the movie I was super excited because it had the music, and it's, you know, just the stars twinkling, da 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 da. And it moved down, and there's a planet. I was like, oh cool, and then a thing, and I was like, holy shit, this movie's actually happening. And then the thing started getting longer. I was like, really just, it's the same as Star Wars, a long ship. I sort of joked to my brother, this time it's even a bigger ship, before I saw the movie. I was going to say that, and then that's what happens. You know, and then of course these things come out, and as soon as it made a sound, I thought, like, I mean, I know the original trilogy has sound effects, and sound effects are cool, but I feel this day and age we're smart enough that we should have, we know that in space there's no medium through which sound can travel. There shouldn't be any sound, and I wouldn't be picky about that, except there were a few science things, okay? Another part, they're sucking from a sun, and there's a part where they say that we're 15 minutes until we're done, and it's like 15 minutes to suck that much stuff into how big is, I don't know how big their Death Star was, but how are you sucking a sun in, like, sure, you might have advanced technology, but what is that about? Like, really? The entire sun, and then when they destroy the Death Star, that big Death Star, it turns into a star, it seemed to be implying. So now the hydrogen fusion restarts, and everything else gets like, just how ignorant it was very frustrating. Another thing with anything big is the time factor, and this frustrates me. And again, the early movies get away with it, I think, because their tone wasn't as serious. Their tone was more fun, and it's scary, and there's danger, which is established, you know, because characters kill, you know, Darth Vader will choke someone and threaten things, and they destroy a planet. But in this, anyway, in this movie, it bothered me for some reason, because I think it was trying to be more realistic. When they destroyed this planet's just... And if you imagine, like, if this is the size of the Earth, for example, and it went... the speeds involved would be ridiculous. Everything... I don't know if that'd be quite close enough to the speed of light, but some of it could get blue shifted or whatever. It's highly unrealistic. If a planet exploded, you would see a very, very gradual, you know, that sort of thing. You'd be like, holy crap. If you saw the Earth moving through the sky, it moves pretty much imperceptibly if you were in space and you were sort of still relative to the sun. I don't think people realize that. It takes about 3 minutes for the Earth to go from there to there, I'm pretty sure. I did a calculation when I was in high school because I was curious. And it's not hard to do. The diameter is 12,000 kilometers. And I forget what its speed is, but you just divide that by the speed. So it's like 30 kilometers per second. How many times does 30 kilometers go into that? It's quite a number of times, so it takes several minutes. Okay, a few more things, because it's past midnight. The lightsaber battles were sort of fun, sort of alright. Again, I liked Rey. I thought her acting was good with the crap that she had to, with this guy, like, poking her with the camera the whole time and telling her, act, feel something, that the audience needs to feel something, rather than making, you know, having a sense of wonder and interesting things happening. But there's still nothing new. There was nothing new. I prefer the prequels, like Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. That works a lot I don't care if it's choreographed. I don't care if they're dancers pointing their toes as they flip, and they could have easily stabbed their leg or something. You know, I don't care. It's fun to watch. And I mean, this was sort of fun to watch, but I just think there's times people hate the prequel so much they're like, anything. Wow, this is brilliant. I think J.J. Abrams is more of a TV director, because he's used to just filming people say their lines and then feel stuff, and then the music is just there sort of as a backup. He doesn't create a grand story. And yeah, I really hate his directing. I was saying to my brother, if Michael Bay directed, I think I would have enjoyed it more. That's how much I dislike his directing. I wish they would get Christopher Nolan or Christopher Reeve. That would sound arrogant, but I'd really like to direct something. I'm very passionate. I don't know. I got to sell myself, I guess. Direct some of my own short films. Anyway, whatever. There's just these typical parts of like they're pushing lightsabers and then, he gets cut. It just didn't affect me. There were things that were predictable. The fate of Han Solo, I saw coming. And again, of course, we have to have characters sort of helplessly watching and then, oh no! Like, just reactions. I didn't feel much at all. I didn't really like the guy that played his son. Again, something that is really critical is that you establish someone enough. You have enough of a story that you care when they die. And I think, the impact of what happens to Obi-Wan in Star Wars is much more powerful than what happens with Han Solo. I mean, yeah, I sort of care what happens, but I saw it coming, and then just the way it was handled drove me nuts. And there's, again, another thing to look at. I know I keep jumping around. Imagery. You look at the original trilogy, there's so many really cool images. Lightsabers were brand new. And I'm just trying to think, like in Empire Strikes Back, that movie is beautiful. It's amazing. The Cloud City looks so cool. There's a big moment when Lando Calrissian is taking them, and they open this door and Darth Vader's right there, and there's this big bit of music, and then they shoot a couple of times, it takes the gun, and they've been betrayed. There's climactic parts where they're escaping and they're running and they're shooting, and they, and meanwhile, there's the part where she says, I love you, and he says, I know, and then he's going down. It's epic, and you don't know what's going to happen. Then he's in carbonite, and it's done. Boba Fett is introduced in Empire Strikes. I don't know if there's much else for me to say. Okay, so if I have to summarize, let's just summarize this. Let's move on. 3 out of 10. J.J. Abrams, I think, is actually one of my least favorite directors of all time. I really liked the story, the idea. Kylo Ren started off pretty cool, but again, there was no big moment when he took off his mask. He just sort of took it off for no explanation. The movie left it. I didn't think it was clear who Rey is. Is she Luke's daughter, or is she Han Solo's daughter? Han Solo didn't seem to know her. She was like, there was nothing there. But Leia seemed to know her and hug her, and she has the Force, so it seems she's related. But it was very confusing. Did Leia was there a separate father, and Leia is her mother, or is Leia her aunt because Luke's her father? Anyway, what else? It has some of the flaws of the the special editions. Special effects are too loud. The sound effects, I mean. CGI poorly chosen for some of the characters and close-ups. That's a bad idea. Close-ups of organic stuff, a person has not been done well, and I don't think it's a good idea. The aliens were boring and had no personality. The story was predictable in a number of key parts, like with what happened to Han Solo. Like, surprise, surprise. Like, I didn't buy that Kylo Ren was like, oh yeah, I've been redeemed. And then it was just lame. A lame death. Really gay ending with Luke Skywalker, and then the fucking camera panning around, and then I felt sick. What else? Okay, John Williams didn't get a chance to shine and make like beautiful new music, so I think it's one of his worst, you know, things he's written but it's not his fault. It's just, I'm sure the music would be great if I just listened to the music, but it's so, the movie keeps changing. One thing I forgot to mention, it sort of relates to what I've said with his directing, with J.J. Abrams, is flat. The movie is flat the whole way. Good movies have like depth, like, so I mean literally flat, but in other senses as well. Other directors, you know, they can have a scene that's uptight and mostly close-ups, and then they have other scenes that are much more broad. They have scenes where there's one shot, but I find, you know, like a long shot that's tracking and smoothly moving and showing things. J.J. Abrams seems to have like 2 or 3 shots, and he only uses those, so it's like a song with 3 notes. One of the main ones is a close-up of people acting, not saying, well, maybe we should do that, or maybe we should go something, you know, never thinking, never having personality, like, why would we do that? You know, sometimes jokes, but mostly just feeling things, like, how can we go there? I feel so much pain, like, I don't know. I got pause it. I found his directing is also flat in terms of pacing. You know, it's a very regular pattern of close up, close up, close up. Oh, we're referring to this, we better show something of it. Whenever we moved to a place, you know, and I was interested in this, you know, place, we didn't have a big breakout shot. There was no shot that I liked from the movie. There wasn't one that I can think of where I was like, whoa, that was cool. Nothing that gave me chills down the spine. But I guarantee you, if I watch any of the original movies or the prequels, there will be parts where I'm like, oh, this is so cool, or the part that's about to come is cool. There were a handful of bits that made me laugh, and that's good, that's great. Rey was pretty, so whenever she was on the screen, I was like, I can watch this. No, I'm just kidding. It's got to be a good movie, and yeah, so also... yeah, so with his, the other shots he likes to do is like a crazy, sometimes the camera's shaking, and sometimes, like the way he reveals places wasn't exciting at any time. Again, there was some more CGI that I found off-putting. There were some flags that I could tell it was CGI. It bothered me. There were things where he had something cool, like when there was that army, it reminded me of Nazi Germany. It was ominous and it was stylish because it had red, white, black. There were parts where I thought this could be awesome, like you know, you have a theme like The Dark Knight Rises. There was sort of winter and snow, and that was an interesting effect. But with this movie, it just didn't get used properly. He has 1 or 2 shots that are sort of okay, but then he just keeps cutting. So it's that pacing is just, every shot is about the same length. And I just didn't feel there were any major introductions to planets. There were no major... I don't know. It's an absolute piece of crap, I thought, in the end, because of his directing. I hate his directing. I really, really disliked the movie because of that. So I'm actually not excited about the sequels at all. I really desperately hope they get a different director. Anyway, I hope other people enjoy it. Maybe you get something from what I said, and I want to make more positive things. So I might make something, an appreciation of the prequels and of the original trilogy, because I really love those movies. Those are, again, because I like movies, I like feeling excitement. They were very cool, and I remember as a kid liking them. And I just think, even if I was a kid and I saw this movie, something wouldn't sit right with me. Anyway, I tried to enjoy it. I'll leave it there because it'll be too negative, and it's going too long. But anyway, okay, bye for now. See ya.